Hi, how are you guys?
Hello.
Hey.
All right, cool.
Evening.
We have here. All right, may I please request that everybody switches on their video and their audio so we can see who we've got here today.
Where's my video?
Okay, I see we've got Maud and we've got another gorgeous future pilot here by the name of Mac. And we've got Vuyo and Lungi. And we've got Leon and Michelle and Shibnam.
No,
And
just Michelle. Just Michelle.
okay, no problem. We've got Clarissa. And is that everybody? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we've got 6 people in total, and we've got Ria. Okay, let's. All right, are we all good there? Has Ria joined? Yes, she has. Ria, can you? Okay, Ria is still connecting to audio. Okay. Right, does everybody? Okay, so guys, welcome to African Skyline. I hope we're going to have a blast this evening. I'm sure you're all very excited about your flight tomorrow. Do we have everybody here for Johannesburg? Is anybody here from KZN?
Me, Michelle.
Okay, so we've got Michelle. And anybody else?
We also from KZN.
Okay, so Michelle and Clarissa. So just 2 for KZN, hey? Ria, are you from Johannesburg? I can't hear Ria. I think she's still muted.
Oh, sorry. Hi. Hi, everybody. Hello.
Hi.
There we go. Looks like we've got
I'm
Ria.
just trying to log on my laptop. I'm having some trouble connecting, so I'm just going to move just now. No, I'm not in Johannesburg. I'm in KZN. Yes, I was, but I'm now, I'm going to be doing it in KZN.
Okay.
And there's Mark here. Yes.
Okay, so you scheduled to fly in KZN, Ria?
Yes, I am.
Okay, okay, that's fine. So we've only got 3 for KZN. Hey, Ria, Clarissa, and Michelle. So,
And Mark is here as well, right here
Hi.
next to me.
hi,
Hi.
Mark.
Good.
That's great. Mark, are you for KZN as well?
Yes.
Okay, lovely, awesome. All right, cool. So then we can get started. Guys, my name is Abdul. I'm the CEO of African Skyline. Got good news and I've got bad news. Unfortunately, we don't have any pilots for tomorrow for Johannesburg, but that's fine. You can still fly. You will be flying with me though, if that's okay. It's not very legal because I'm not a qualified pilot. But you know, it's like, Mac, we can't hear you. You're muted. Okay. So it's like, okay, there, now we can hear you now. So, all right. So, but it's very, very safe. It's like, you know, when you're 16 years old and you can drive better than some of your parents can, same thing with flying. You know, you don't really need a license as long as you know how to pilot that airplane. So I've been learning how to fly for the past 6 months. It's been thoroughly enjoyable. So I've decided to help out this weekend, although the insurance will be void and we're not supposed to be doing that. But we've decided that I will just fill in. So if you don't mind, we can still fly for Johannesburg. KZN is no problem. But just remember, if the CAA comes and does a ramp inspection, you just got to let them know I'm your instructor. Otherwise, we can all end up in a lot of trouble. Is that okay?
No, not really, eh?
I
I don't know. I'd be worried about that.
I'm not really comfortable. Yeah, I'm not really comfortable with that.
No,
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I'm
What?
kidding. Okay.
And
was the
I've
biggest
even read
wave.
that you watch
Oh.
things on Netflix about flights crashing everywhere. So I don't
I
know.
watched that last week.
So did I.
The aviation sector is in dire straits, so I'm trying my luck at comedy. So I don't know. You can tell me how.
Ah, that was not funny. Not funny.
Okay.
I might have heard this some other time.
So let me give you a proper introduction, so you're all comfortable because, they say that people that look like me generally fly into buildings. So I'll give you a bit of a, so you're not going to be flying into Carlton Center or anything tomorrow. And then
Ooh.
give you a quick background on yourself as well. So guys, my name is Abdul. I am the chief flying instructor at African Skyline. I have been flying for about 16 years, probably a little bit longer. I'm also an airline pilot as well, and I'm a pilot on the entire Boeing 737 fleet. What you are going to be doing tomorrow is absolutely amazing. It's nothing short of amazing because it's the introductory flight and what the introductory flight usually entails. So ours is very different, but what the introductory flight usually entails is a flight instructor chatting to you for 5 or 10 minutes, climbing into the airplane, piloting it up to a safe altitude. And once it's at a safe altitude, he or she will give you marginal control of the airplane. All right, depending on the instructor. And they will give you a feel of what it feels like to fly an airplane, but you're not really piloting this airplane. With our flight, I wanted to prove that regardless of one's race, their gender, their creed, their background, their ethnicity, it was all about breaking down barriers for me. And I wanted to prove that regardless of your background, it's possible to pilot an airplane completely by yourself throughout the critical stages of flight. And critical stages of flight is deemed to be the takeoff and the approach and landing back to the airfield. And I wanted to prove that on the first day, it's possible for the student to pilot this airplane almost unassisted. All right. Now, this has been almost unheard of in the industry, but it is very possible. With quality training and with the right amount of time spent, I launched this project because I wanted to prove that anybody is capable of piloting an airplane. And I wanted to do so legally. So we have an accredited flying training organization, and I am a qualified flight instructor, and I do have the experience to embark on a project like this, as well as fulfill the legal criteria. So you will be piloting this airplane almost unassisted, and it's lots of fun. But for that to happen, you need to have a fairly good idea and understanding or background on a few key principles on the effects of controls, the theory of lift, etc. So that is why we are the only school in the country that dedicates this amount of time towards teaching you these principles. And because I write off that time. So it's not really viable or economical for a flight school to spend this amount of time on an introductory flight, because the time spent is, the value of that is well in excess of what it costs to provide an introductory flight. And to come in at a marketable rate, they try to remove certain aspects. And I have included all of this because of this project that I've embarked on. So I have dedicated this evening to do this briefing to achieve the aims of this project. So I hope you're going to have a fantastic time. And if anybody has any questions, etc., regarding what we're about to do tomorrow, you're welcome to stop me so I can ensure that I do the best that I can to make sure that all the concepts are easily understood by everybody here today. All right, so I'm sure we're going to have a lovely time, and please don't feel shy to stop me at any point if you're unsure of anything. That being said, just a second, guys. I need to just mute myself for a second there. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. So that being said, I'm going to go on. This lecture is scheduled from 7 to 9 p.m. But if anybody has any questions, I'm going to ensure that I answer everything. And I don't mind going over that if need be. All right. So I'd like to get a little bit of background on each of you people as well, just so I know that you're not going to fly me into Nkandla or something. So we'd like to get a little bit of background. And as you can see, I'm Indian as well. So, you know, Indian wives love shopping. So I also make a list of who does what. So don't be too surprised if you find me on your doorstep one day asking for some discounts. All right, cool. Known for that more than flying aeroplanes. But anyway, we can get started. And then I'll give you a brief background on how I ended up flying and why we do what we do. All right, so we'll start first with Maud. Maud, quick, brief explanation, under a minute. Name, surname, how you got this experience, what is your background in terms of favorite subjects at schools, current interest and hobbies and occupation. So the reason why we ask this is that everybody comes from a different background and they think differently. And that's fine. We have people from engineering backgrounds and arts backgrounds, but I need to structure my briefing so that it is understandable and it's entertaining to everybody, regardless of your background. All right. So Maud, we can start with you simply because, okay, let's not start with Maud. I'm going to start in the order of the list that I have here on the side of my screen, so then I don't miss anybody. So we're going to start with Leon. Leon, you want to start?
Yes, my name is Leon van Wyk. I'm in Heidelberg, Gauteng. I'm a CP engineer on the pipelines for Sasol and Air Products and Afrox, all the major gas companies. My interest in flying is I've something I want to do for how long. It's just didn't have the time in the experience. So my wife bought me this wonderful package of you guys. So I'm really excited and can't wait for tomorrow and during this lesson.
You know, you guys are very, very lucky. I think you have a lot of you people have received this as gifts, etc. And it's a costly exercise. I get a box of chocolates for my birthday and I fight with my wife all the time. So you guys are very, very lucky. I don't know if they told you that they have got a discount. And the reason being is because they've only purchased, I think, the takeoff. So for the landing, we don't teach you how to land. You've got to pay extra for you to be able to land the aeroplane. So the takeoff is almost free, and then the landing's an extra rate. Have they told you about that?
No.
Okay, no, I'm kidding. All right, cool. Ria, you want to go next?
Hi everyone, I'm Ria. I'm an educator by profession, currently a motivational speaker. I'm also into a professional MC, dynamic team building guru. Yeah, I'm incredibly afraid of heights. So I bought Mark this gift so he can live my dream of flying. And so I'm actually stepping up the game because he's always encouraged me to fight my fears. And so that's what it's about.
You know, believe it or not, I'm very scared of heights. And we fly at 41,000 feet. So I've had a lot of this here before, and this is not a joke. So when I'm on the top of a building or on a roof doing some work or on a balcony or on a tall, high-rise building, I feel very, very queasy. I feel like jumping off or throwing off whatever I have in my hands. It's a weird feeling. In the air, it disappears completely. And funny enough, there's a lot of people that has the same experience. So even though you're scared of heights, I'm hoping that this will really help you overcome your fear. And it's going to be exactly like what we experienced, where you'll be completely fine. So yeah, I think you're going to have a blast. All right, favorite subjects at school, Ria, or what do you currently teach? Which subjects?
Well, I majored in English. Least favorite is maths.
Oh,
And yeah, life science and all the general subjects. But my major is English.
all right, awesome. Carmen, do we have Carmen Hitchcock? Carmen?
Hi there. Sorry, I'm struggling a bit with my internet connection. I think, can you just skip me for now while I sort it out?
No problem. That's fine. We'll come back to
Yeah.
Carmen.
Thanks.
Clarissa? Clarissa, can you hear me?
Hi everyone.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks.
That's
I'm
good.
Teresa and this is Kosh. We love adventure. We love flying. Excited for tomorrow. Both in accounting. So we're proving accountants aren't boring. We've done a micro flight and also recent engagement as a hot air balloon. And now we're doing the flight tomorrow.
Oh, all right. No, awesome. Don't worry, accountants do very well with flying. My wife's an accountant. So Wasila, whom a lot of you people have been engaging with, is actually my wife, and she's an accountant. But yeah, not boring by any standards. All right. Keeps me very busy. Okay, cool. So we've done Clarissa, we've done Ria. Maud?
Hi everyone, Maud Matacha. I'm in the telecommunications infrastructure space. So we build towers, and I'm pretty sure you've seen those red lights. So deal a lot with the CAA.
The one I've got to dodge every time that I'm flying.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I'm not gonna bump into any one of our towers actually. Yeah, so also a bit afraid of heights, but I do a lot of hiking to overcome my fear of heights. And I thought I'd take it up a notch with flying.
Awesome.
Favorite subjects, probably economics and maths, and a bit of science, the chemistry part, not the physics.
Maud, you're the exact opposite of me. I loved physics and I hated chemistry, but anyway.
I loved chemistry and I
Okay.
despised
But
physics.
you remind me of someone from the US. You don't look like you're South African.
Everyone says that.
Okay.
This was the first time I heard it, so it's fine.
Really? Okay, so there must be truth to something there. All right, cool. Leon, we've done Michelle.
Hi, my name is Michelle Kermack. I actually am an estate agent. I work for an agency in Umhlanga. Favorite subjects, can't remember, too long ago. I got the voucher from my husband for Christmas. Was scheduled for the 5th of February, but was cancelled because of the weather. So looking forward to doing this tomorrow. And yeah, my grandkids think it's quite fun, so we'll see what it's about.
Awesome, lovely. I'm sure you're going to have a blast.
I hope so.
Yep. Okay, and you're going to be flying past the whole Umhlanga coastline, so you can get lots of pictures and a video and all of that.
Well, I better be watching where I'm flying.
Don't worry, you're going to have plenty of things to watch out for when you're flying.
I'll curve round the pearls.
That's exactly what
Head for the pearls and just go around.
That's exactly what you're going to be doing.
Great stuff.
Oh, where to?
Hi, Mark's here as well. He's also flying.
Oh, sorry, Mark, I forgot about you. Sorry, man. I had it.
Yeah, he's hiding here. He's actually the main person. I just got my foot in at the last minute.
Yeah, she bought me a birthday gift. You've heard the story before, but anyway, I'm very happy. I'm looking forward to it. I actually work in the port and do labor relations. So I actually had a lot of interactions with the aviation guys. The port, they fly the helicopter there. I've had a ride on it and so forth. So I'm very much looking forward to learning to fly. Yeah,
And it's much
Thanks.
safer, hey?
Safer.
Much safer. Way safer in an aeroplane than a chopper. I wouldn't climb in there for free if you paid me, or even if you paid me to get into those things. Cool.
Yeah,
All right. So
thanks.
are you an attorney as well, Mark?
No, I'm not an attorney. No, just a consultant, labor relations consultant.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So that's, now you might have heard of my brother. He's one of the leading labor law specialists in the country, but that's at Norton Rose, Mohammed Chavus.
Ahmed who? No?
Chavus.
No.
Rings a bell.
Rings a bell, but yeah, I don't think I know him.
All right, so we've got Mark, we got, okay, Vuyo and Lungi. Vuyo, Lungi. There you
Hi,
go.
we with Lungi and his Vuyo. I am an engineering student. I wanted to become a pilot and I was told I was too short when I completed matric. So this experience for me is something that's been long coming. For my husband, he developed his interest in flying from watching air crash investigation. So he wants to experience what it's like not to crash an airplane.
Awesome. So we're going to have one of those armchair professionals with us tomorrow. No problem. We can even show you how to crash an aeroplane as well.
No.
We've got plenty of experience there as well. I'm kidding. All right. So are you guys both going to be flying or just...
Four of us will be flying.
Okay, awesome. So you guys have got 2 slots booked for tomorrow. Okay, awesome. So guys, quick before we start, how I got into flying. Just a little bit of...
Did you forget about Olwetu?
I didn't get a chance.
Oh, sorry, man, Olwetu. I knew we... Oh, Olwetu, your name moved up all the way to the top for some odd reason.
Yeah, I was Mac at some point, so yes.
All right.
Okay, so I'm Olwetu. I'm currently a marketing specialist at an insurance company in Pretoria. My favorite subjects in school were business and accounting. I got this as a gift from my boyfriend. I was so cryptic with what I wanted as a birthday gift. I was like, I want the sky. And he was like, oh, okay. And here's the flying experience. I was like, oh, you did good. So that's why I'm here.
You mustn't say things like that publicly, because if my wife hears you saying things like that, hey, there will be problems. I'll be expected to do similar things to your boyfriend. Oh yeah, but anyway.
I'm just telling the truth though, but
and I hope you don't work for King Price, because if you do,
I do.
Oh God, okay. Luckily you told me now, it's fine. So yeah.
I do.
I'm gonna keep
Oh.
All right, cool. All right. All right, guys. So before we get started, I'm gonna tell you how I ended up becoming a pilot. Very, very funny story, or interesting story. So I went on a pilgrimage when I was in grade 7. I think that was standard 5 with my parents. First time I'd been on an aeroplane, seen one up close. The minute I climbed it now, I mean, standard 5, you what, 12 years old probably. But anyway, when I climbed onto that aeroplane, I knew immediately this is what I wanted to do. I'm going to become a pilot. Obviously, nobody took me seriously because flying is a childhood dream for many, right? Let's face it. I mean, they thought, oh, he'll probably grow out of this. But the minute I climbed into that aeroplane, I knew I wanted to become a pilot. Since then, I loved, breathed aeroplanes. And Microsoft Flight Simulator was launched soon after. We couldn't even afford a computer. So I went to the school laboratory, opened up this computer, saw how it was built. And every time I saved a little bit of pocket money, I would go and buy one part at a time, just to be able to build a computer for Microsoft Flight Simulator. While I was at school, I was dedicating a lot of my time calling flight schools. That time there was, I don't even know if there was email, we used to use fax. So the flight schools would fax me quotes, etc. And I looked at this thing and I thought, geez, 200,000 and 300,000. was a lot of money when we couldn't even afford a computer. But anyway, my parents, when I was about to start grade 10, standard 8, they said, well, time to choose subjects. What are you going to do? I said, well, I'm going to become a pilot. They said, are you crazy? I said, what do you mean? They said, well, Muslims don't fly airplanes. Maybe they thought that we only fly them into buildings. But anyway, I said, what do you mean? They said, well, look, we pray 5 times a day. And I said, but that shouldn't stop us. I know people that work all day and pray every single prayer on time. And I know some people that are at home all day and don't do a stitch of work and they miss every single prayer. So I said, well, that's got to do with your ethics and the way you brought up. So they said, okay, fine, no problem. But you are useless at maths. Now, that was partially true. I enjoyed maths to a point. And then at high school, I started playing every single sport under the sun. I played cricket and soccer and tennis and table tennis. And there was just no time for that. And as a lot of you might know with mathematics, it's a lot of work that you've got to put in and do your homework, etc. So I was horrible at it because I just didn't spend the time. So I said, well, if you enjoy something, you will make an effort to understand it and to put in more effort. So they said, okay, fine, no problem. Smarty Pants, seems like you have all the answers, but we just don't have the money. And that was true. So I enjoyed history and English. I loved public speaking. I was great at it. I used to debate for the United Nations. I was part of UNESCO. I was the junior premier of Gauteng for a year. So the arts was pretty up my alley. And when I matriculated, the only other avenue for me was something that I really enjoyed, and I went into law. So I studied an LLB degree at Wits University, or a LLB at Wits University. However, I excelled in my first year, it was great. In my second year, every time I'd see an aeroplane, I would become depressed to the point where I didn't even want to sit in an aeroplane because I always thought I should be flying this. Now, bear in mind, if you're non-white, or even in those days, it was even worse. But even now, if you're non-white and you're planning on joining an airline or even a charter company in South Africa, it's absolutely impossible. Forget about it. And that exists even till now, regardless of what the media states. So it was very difficult, but not the type of person that would give in. And I thought to myself, I don't want to, I believe that you don't have the right to complain unless you try and make a difference yourself. So while I was at university, I bought this introductory flight. And when I landed, the instructor said, what do you think? And I was breathless. I said, I have to do this. How much? And he said, it's about 300,000 Rand. Now, bear in mind, I was only 17 or 18 years old. I didn't have a cent in my pocket. And I thought to myself, but if I don't sign this, I'm never going to get there. So I don't want to be 40 or 50 years old one day blaming apartheid or my parents' finances, etc. And I said, well, if I try and it works, great. If I don't, at least I know I did my best. So I signed this. And I now needed an income for this because I was 18 years old with no money and a 300,000 Rand bill. So what I did was I started selling computer parts, accessories, hard drives, graphics cards, building up computers, laptops, etc. And every time I sold one item and made a little bit of money, I would go into one flight. During this period, I realized that most of the airplanes, training aircraft, even lighter private aircraft, were actually cheaper than some of the cars that colleagues, friends, family, etc. drove. And that I also realized that you didn't need to be a rocket scientist to pilot an airplane. In fact, half the pilots at SAA couldn't speak English properly and didn't even have matric certificates. And that's when I realized that it's possible for anybody. And I vowed that one day I would try and make it possible for anybody to pilot an airplane regardless of where they come from. So that's where the idea was born. And eventually I qualified a year later with a private license. And then I started an import company, importing furniture, and I became close friends with the South African rugby team. So Albert van der Berg, BJ Botha, Alistair Kutsia, etc., the coach now, they started supporting me and I'd supply them with a lot of electronics, etc. And I started this import company and did furniture and whatever it took to put myself through the commercial pilot's license. Here I am today with African Skyline. And that is the only reason why I do this type of training. So we actually don't make a cent out of this. In fact, it's a loss for us in terms of time spent. And that's why we're the only school that's prepared to spend this amount of time on an introductory flight with a briefing, because it's not the commercial value out of it. It's something that we wanted to teach people out there. There's a lot of misinformation that you need to be a certain height. You need to be able to see without glasses, which is also nonsense. I'm as blind as a bat when it comes to flying. If I don't have my glasses, I can't see. So this is all the misconceptions we wanted to remove, and we wanted to show people that regardless of who you are, how much of money you have, what race you come from, what gender, what age, we wanted to prove that it's possible for anybody. And that's the only reason why we do these introductory flights. So if any of you people are interested, later on, I've taught people how to fly that were 13 years old, 14 years old. And I've taught people in their 60s how to fly that have qualified with licenses. So it's never too late. All right. So we also manage airplanes. We buy and sell aircraft. We create ownership schemes to make it possible. And people think that it's very costly, but you know, if I need to take my wife for supper, it's actually cheaper for me to fly to Sun City for supper than to drive. And it's quicker for me to fly down to Sun City than drive to Sandton, and I live in Johannesburg South. So there's a lot of possibilities that people don't understand. And this is what we sought to change with this introductory flight and show people that it is possible. All right. Maud, I see you have a hand up.
It's funny how you mentioned grade 10. So my son is in grade 10, aspiring to become a pilot. And just 3 weeks ago, we tried to go do some research, and I was told the same thing for his PPL. I'm looking at about 300K. So how true is that?
So PPL 300K, that's completely insane. That's not correct at all. A PPL, you're looking at about 135 to 160,000, depending where you do it, with what type of instructor, etc. And for a full commercial, you're looking at anything between 450,000 to $1 million. So, and there are quotes out there that are even cheaper, but you know, at 450,000, we've tried to make this as affordable as anything. So with a lot of schools, there's a lot of things that are skipped out of the quote, and you find these out later on that blindside you. So you've got to be very careful. But if you guys are interested, let me know. And we find that with younger kids, it's great for them to start young, because we teach children how to think. We don't just teach them questions and answers. So you are trained to teach to think in a specific manner. And that is why pilots are so pedantic with a lot of things, or should be. Used to be that standards changing drastically nowadays. But if taught correctly, you're taught to behave in a certain manner, to think under pressure, and it benefits them at school as well throughout all their subjects, whether it's English or science, it doesn't make a difference. But more about that later. If anyone is interested, you're welcome to make an appointment with us. With that, I'm going to get started, guys. Please be advised that aviation is very logical. So if I ask a question, just go back to the root English meaning of the word, and you'll have a reasonable idea of what I'm talking about. All right. The root English terminology will give you an idea, and I want you to answer the question on that basis. All right. So even if you don't understand, or you're a little bit confused, attempt the question or the answer. Everybody is learning here, and we all make mistakes, so don't feel shy, because as an instructor, I learn every day. All right, from my students. So guys, let's assume we're traveling, and girls, we're traveling from, this marker's not working. Let's assume we're traveling from Johannesburg to KZN. If anybody can't see what I write on the board, please ask me to draw it a little bit bigger or write a bit bigger. Let's assume we're traveling Johannesburg to KZN. I'm in my vehicle traveling, and you fine people are flying on the airplane. What is the key difference between the two modes of travel? Who can tell me? So remember, I want to know, listen very carefully. I want to know the difference in the mode of travel.
One thing
Land and
on
air.
air.
That's
Land
it.
and air.
Land and air, right? With the aeroplane, you're in the air. With the vehicle, you're traveling on the ground. So see what I mean by English terminology, right? So yeah, that's great. It's land and air. Now, when you climbed into this aeroplane mode, was it on the ground or was it floating around in space?
It was on the ground initially.
Right, lovely. So why wasn't it floating around in space? Why was it on the ground? So why does every object lie on the ground? Why doesn't it just float around?
Gravity.
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 Any object on this planet which has mass is subject to an unseen force called gravity. So you have, what is mass? Matter. Matter is a whole lot of particles put together, right? So I can see Michelle is trying to say something, but you muted, Michelle. So
Now I'm talking to the husband quickly. He's cooking dinner.
oh, okay. You don't say that too loud again. You know, when my wife listens like this, it causes problems for me. Okay,
I
cool.
never cook, so.
That's
Well done.
okay, cool. All right. So anything that has matter has mass, and it's subject to the unseen force called gravity, right? So gravity is multiplied by mass, right? Because it attaches to the mass. So it's gravity multiplied by mass, and it gives you a new force. That force has speed and it has direction. So the direction is downward. And the acceleration or the value of gravity is 9.8 meters per second. We're going to round it off to 10. So gravity multiplied by mass gives us this downward acceleration. And that force has a new name. Alwetu, what is that new name? The downward force. Gravity multiplied by mass. Never ask a woman this.
Right.
That's it. It's weight, right? Gravity multiplied by mass. So the downward force is weight.
That's funny.
I partially gave you the answer here, right? So think before you answer this question. Lungi, what is your weight, if I may ask?
You just said never ask a woman this.
Rough estimate. Remember, I'm asking you what your weight is. That's it.
Weight would be my mass by the gravitational acceleration.
That's
So
it. That's the answer I was looking for. That's why I asked you, you see. So give me your more or less weight.
it's about 700.
That's it. So she didn't tell me her weight is 70 kilograms. She said 700. Why? Because her mass in kilograms is your mass. Your weight, it's taking into account the force of gravity. So she weighs 700 newtons, right? Cool. Now, to get this aeroplane into the air, remember it's got this downward force. You need to apply an equal but opposite force. What is that force called? If I want to get this aeroplane into the air, what do I need to do to it? What am I doing to this aeroplane now? Simple, one word.
Lift.
Lift, that's it. So I need to apply an equal but opposite force in an upward direction, and that force is called lift. See that? All right, cool beans. There we go. That's lift. Now you've also got to travel forward through the air, am I correct? So that forward force, who knows what the forward force is called?
Thrust.
Yes.
Lovely. Who said that? Sounded like Maud.
It wasn't me this time.
Okay, who was that? Olwetu. Oh, Michelle. Okay, great. So the forward force is called thrust. Michelle, are you an avid aviation fan? Sounds like it.
No, I'm sitting here with the notes from the last lesson.
Oh, okay, very good.
Okay.
Okay, cool. All right. So the forward force is called thrust. Now remember, every action has an equal but opposite reaction. So everyone that's married will understand this, right? Yes. Okay.
Newton's law.
That's it. So when your husband is going in one direction and he's checking that very sexy flight attendant, what are you doing? You are. What are you doing in the opposite direction?
Like,
You're dragging him. That's it. So the opposite force is called drag.
Yeah.
Right. So lift opposes weight and thrust opposes drag.
Drag.
Okay. So I should have actually changed the color here, and I'll show you why. Okay, so you see, when something is pulling you down and there's a backward force, it's like two people pulling on a string. And if one leaves it, does the string go straight back or it goes off at a tangent? One person is pulling a string on one end, I'm pulling it from another end, right? If I leave it, does the string go straight back or does it go at an angle?
An angle.
Goes off at an angle. So weight and drag gives you a resultant force here, right? Can you see that? Right, can you see that force? And lift and thrust gives you a resultant force there. Can you see that? Got it there. So that force is called your total reaction. You see? So now lift and thrust, that combination, the combination of those forces gives us total reaction 1, and that opposes the total reaction from drag and weight. Can you see that? Does it make sense? Right, cool. Now, guys, what distinguishes this aeroplane from every other vehicle? So most of your vessels or vehicles has got an engine, it's got a body, etc., right? But what makes an aeroplane different from a ship, a car, a train? What distinguishes an aeroplane?
Wings.
The wing.
That's it. So the wing is what generates our lift, isn't it? That's it. And that's what we're primarily concerned about. Now, any part of an aeroplane that generates lift is called an aerofoil. What is it called?
Aerofoil.
Aerofoil. Right, cool. So now this wing is actually called an aerofoil. Now I'm going to draw a reference line on this aerofoil. Whenever we teaching somebody or we talking about something, we need a reference, right? A point of reference. If I want to measure this board, I need to take a chord from one end to the other end. Am I right? What will I use? A chord, isn't it? Right. So on an aerofoil section or on the wing, I'm going to draw what we call the chord line. The reference line is called the chord line.
Chord line.
Chord line runs from the front to the end. So I'm going to write the chord line. Now, if we cut this wing in half, are we going to find the chord line there? No, because it's an imaginary reference line, isn't it? Now, the front of the wing, because it's the front and it's the edge of the wing, we call it the leading edge. What do we call it?
Leading edge.
That's it. So the back would be called the
Legging.
Back edge. I don't know.
Sorry?
Backing.
The following edge.
Trailing edge.
The trailing edge. That's it, Michelle.
Tail.
So the
Okay.
front is the leading edge, the back is the trailing edge. So you can imagine somebody that's running the race. Person in front is the leader, person at the back is trailing. So remember logic, right? So if you think about it that way, you'll never forget it, right? So it's not complicated, right? Front is leading edge, back is trailing edge, and the reference line is a chord line because you use a chord to measure, right? So there's your chord line there, right? Cool. Now, on this planet around us, we have a whole lot of air molecules, air particles, am I right?
Yeah.
Made up of different gases, oxygen, argon, nitrogen, etc., carbon dioxide. Now, can you feel these gases on you at the moment? No.
No.
You can't feel anything on you, right? Cool. But if you switch on the AC, will you feel it then?
Yes.
Right. So these particles or these gases, it exerts a pressure on this whole planet, right? Because it's a column of this air. And it starts where? At the top of the atmosphere. And where will the column of air end? At the surface.
Bottom.
Right, cool. But now, we have surfaces at different altitudes, am I right?
Mm.
So we have the surface at Johannesburg, where I am, and we have a surface at KZN, where some of you guys are. So who will have a larger column of air on them, KZN or Johannesburg?
What is Johannesburg?
KZN. Why will it be KZN?
Because they further.
That's it, because KZN is at sea level. So the
Oh, it's
column
a
of
sea
air
level.
is larger. We're higher up. We're at 5,500 feet above sea level in this atmosphere. So we have a smaller column of air exerting pressure on us. Am I correct?
Yes.
Right. Now, in this column of air, so if I draw it like this, here's your Earth, here's Johannesburg, and here's KZN. KZN. Can you see the column of air on Johannesburg, and can you see the column of air on KZN? Right?
Okay.
The column of air in Johannesburg is smaller. The column of air in KZN is larger, right? So here you've got more force. So all the particles are packed tightly together. They're getting squeezed together. So the pressure and the density in KZN is greater, right?
Yeah.
Now, in this column of air, like I said, you can't feel the air on you at the moment, but if you switch on the AC, you'll feel it, right? So these particles of air are made up of two different forms of energy. The total pressure, which is equal to one number, so we call it a constant, right, is equal to the stationary air, which we call the static pressure. What do we call it?
Static pressure.
Right. But now, if we switch on the AC, that air is now moving, isn't it? So that's now called, who knows what that pressure is called, or that form of energy?
Kinetic.
Well, very close, right? So it does have kinetic energy in it, but we call it the dynamic pressure. What do we call it?
Dynamic pressure.
Dynamic. Why dynamic? Because the word dynamic means something that can change all the time, like a politician, isn't it? Right. 1 minute they say one thing, the next minute they change something else. Okay. So static pressure plus dynamic pressure is equal to your total pressure, which is a constant. Can you see that? Right. So what does that mean? Let's assume your total pressure in KZN is 20 and your static pressure is 18. What will your dynamic pressure be?
2.
2. Very good. So 18 plus 2. But now let's assume you switch on the AC. Now what will happen to your dynamic pressure?
It will probably increase.
It's going to increase. So now let's say it becomes 12. What will your static pressure be?
8.
8. That's it. So this principle is very important. That's why we call it a constant. We say that one form of energy increases, the other one needs to decrease. Your total pressure will remain the same, isn't it?
Okay.
All right. So for a given place at a given moment, total pressure is the static plus the dynamic. And if one increases, you cause an increase in one, the other one must reduce. All right. Cool.
Okay.
So I'm going to tell you why you need to understand this. So let's apply this to a wing. What is the pressure at the top? Let's say it's 20. What is the pressure at the bottom? Also 20. Pressure in front 20, pressure behind 20. So the pressure around this entire aerofoil is constant. It's the same. There's no difference. Am I right? Cool. Now let's assume this when you were in your dad's car one day, right? And you were driving. Or say, let's say the car was stationary. Very hot day, not a breath of wind. Car is not moving. Roll down the window, put your hand out. Can you feel anything on your hand?
No.
Nothing, right? Does your hand go anywhere?
No.
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 Fall, right? But now, if your dad starts to move forward, if he drives forward, right? Now, do you feel something on your hand?
Yes.
What do you feel on your hand?
A force.
Right, which is what? Which is what?
Air.
The air, that's it. It's the air that's around you, isn't it? Right. Does it matter if there's no wind?
No.
No. Even if there's no wind, You will still feel it
Still
because
feel
you're traveling through it, right? So you are attacking that air. Where will you feel it? On the front of your hand, on the side, or on the rear?
Front.
Right, you can feel it on the front. So let's draw this airflow in now, right? So there we are. It's opposite and parallel. If your dad changes his direction and drives in a new direction, will you feel the airflow at a new place on your hand?
No.
No. Does it matter which way he's driving?
No.
No, you will always experience it opposite to your direction of travel. So the airflow you're experiencing is opposite and parallel. So we call that the relative airflow. Why is it the relative airflow? Because number one, you're experiencing airflow. Number two, the direction is relative or dependent on your flight path or direction of travel. So it's called the relative airflow. So you see how logical this is. Do you see how you need to understand this? All right, the wording. It's relative because the direction is dependent on the flight path or on your direction of travel. Now, when you kept your hand straight, did anything happen to your hand while you was driving? Did it move? You kept your hand straight? No. So the angle that the airflow is hitting your hand is at 0 degrees because it's hitting it straight on, right? That is called the angle of attack. What is it called?
Angle of attack.
Right. But you can change the angle of your hand. So if you look at my marker, the marker is the airflow. There, my hand is the aerofoil section or the wing, right? So if you keep your hand straight, the airflow is hitting it straight on or head on, but you can change the angle. Now, what happens when you increase that angle of your hand? What happens to your hand?
Goes up.
Right, your hand wants to go up. Now, why does it want to go up? I'm going to explain it to you very simply. You see, when the airflow hits the leading edge, can it go through the leading edge?
No.
No. So you must think of this like back in the day. Who has no hair here? No, today things have changed. So now I must look for all the old copies. Okay.
Gosh.
There's it. I found my tablet. Okay, cool. Back in the day, Mark, this is back in the day, right? You're walking with your girlfriend and you see her dad at the end of the road. Will you continue walking with her? No chance, right? Why? Because it's going to blitz him, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So you can't continue walking with her. But now, guys are very resourceful, right? They say a boer maak 'n plan, isn't it, Leon?
No, yes.
But they also say that a boer maak 'n plan, maar 'n coolie het 'n plan, isn't it? All right. So what's the plan now? You're not going to give up that easily, right? You're going to split up and you're going to tell her, you take one route, I will take another route and I'll meet you at the mall at 10 o'clock, right? That's the plan. So some of this airflow, because it can't go through this aerofoil, some needs to go above and some needs to go below. Right. But now, if you look at route A and you look at route B, right? Which one would you rather give her? Route A or route B? If you're the perfect gentleman, Leon, are you going to give her route A above or are you going to give her route B below?
B.
Shorter.
Right. Why are you going to give her route B?
Because it's shorter.
That's it, because route B is a shorter route. Who did Ria say that? Ria, that's the shorter route, eh?
Yep.
Okay. But now, if she has a shorter route, are you going to get there on time?
No.
No. And if it's an Indian chick and there's an oak with a Ferrari there, trust me, Mark, you're not finding her. All right. Cool. So what do you need to do to get there in time?
Walk faster.
Pressure above, you've got dynamic pressure below, you've also got static above and you've got static below. But above, you have a greater distance. So what do you need to do?
You need to walk faster.
That's it. So the dynamic pressure above, because of the greater distance, it has to speed up. And what did we say? If one increases, what happens to the other one?
Decrease.
It decreases. That's it. So now instead of the pressure being 20, it's now going to become 15, for example. So now you automatically have, and here from 20 drop to maybe 18. So now what? Is the pressure the same? You have a lower pressure above, isn't it? Right. And things always go from an area of high pressure to an area of
Low pressure.
That's it. That's why men have mistresses, isn't it?
Well,
No
They can
comment.
handle it.
Don't worry, Wasila is not listening, so it's fine. I'll get away with it now. All right. So something always moves from an area of high pressure to an area of low
Low
pressure.
pressure.
What you just done. By raising your hand, you increase the angle of attack. So where's the angle of attack? Here it is. The angle between the relative airflow and the chord line is called your angle of attack. So if this wing, if I had to do this to this aerofoil, there we are. If I increase the angle of attack, there's my chord line. What happens? There you go. The distance becomes even greater, isn't it? So if the distance becomes greater, the pressure reduces even further and I get more lift. Can you see that? Right? So by altering that angle of attack, by increasing it, you are causing the static pressure to reduce because the dynamic pressure needs to speed up because it broke away there. It needs to meet up with its partner at the trailing edge. So to do that, it needs to travel faster. And in turn, it causes the static pressure to reduce. So what have you just done? You have generated a lower pressure. So we therefore say that lift is generated by means of a pressure difference. We induce a lower pressure above the wing. So we don't create a high pressure below. The pressure below is automatically higher because the pressure above has just reduced.
Lower.
Oh,
Right. Does everybody understand how lift is generated now? That is why a kite flies without an engine. A glider can fly without an engine because all you're doing is you increasing that angle at which it meets the airflow. When the airflow splits up, it speeds up above and it causes the static pressure to reduce. So the glider, kite, whatever it is, will go up.
Lift.
That's it. Does it make sense now, guys? So what is the aeroplane engines doing? All it's doing is it's giving you forward thrust, right? It's blasting air out the back there. So the aeroplane speeds up and now you've got airflow over the wings. Once you've got enough airflow over the wings and you raise the nose, automatically the airflow above is going to speed up, cause lower static pressure and the aeroplane will climb. So that's what the engines are there for, to give you the airflow against it. That's why you have gliders that can fly without engines. We slingshot them up into the air. Now they look for the thermals and they fly against this airflow. It pushes them up and they just keep the nose a little bit down. So what happens? The airflow speeds up and it reduces the pressure. The glider goes up. Then they get the next rising air pocket and then they fly into that one and then it pushes them up again. Then they lower the nose. So that's all they're doing all the time. Does it make sense? So this principle is very important so you understand how we generate lift. Now we're going to apply it to all the flight controls on the aeroplane, okay? So here's a whole lot of aerofoil sections, right? These are your main wings. This is your horizontal stabilizer. So if this is your horizontal stabilizer, what do you think this is called?
Vertical.
stabilizer.
Stabilizer.
Very good. So now I'm going to draw them all on the board and I'm going to show you how this works. So I'm drawing a top view of the vertical stabilizer, a side view of the horizontal stabilizer, Right. So here's your main wings. Vertical stabilizer, horizontal stabilizer. Now note, do you see these things that are drawn in purple at the end? They look like they're detachable. Can you see that?
Yeah.
That merely means that on the trailing edge, you've got hinged surfaces which can move up and down. So if you look at this aircraft, you see here, they are all separate surfaces. These things can move up and down. Can you see that? These surfaces, right? Same thing on the vertical stabilizer. Same thing on the horizontal stabilizer. The end moves left and right. Now, those surfaces which move have different names. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw the reference line. We said that the reference line runs from where to where?
Top to the bottom.
Leading edge to?
Trailing edge.
Trailing edge.
Trailing edge.
Leading edge to trailing edge. And what did we call it?
Chord line.
Chord
We
line.
called it the chord line. And now we also said that opposite and parallel, as the aircraft moves through the air, what is going to strike the leading edge? What strikes the leading edge, guys?
The left.
What's striking the leading
The
edge?
weight.
No, as the airplane moves forward, like your hand.
Oh,
out
the
the-
thrust.
The relative airflow.
That's it. It's called a relative airflow. Very good. Okay, relative airflow. And what did we say? The angle that it makes with the chord line, what is that angle called?
Angle of attack.
Angle of attack. Why? Because we are attacking the airflow, isn't it? So there we are. We've got an angle of attack there, angle of attack there, angle of attack there. Do we have an angle of attack on the vertical stabilizer? No, because the distance at A and B is the same. Can you see that? So the distance there is the same as the distance there. Can you see that? Right. Now, we're on the ground. We need this airflow against all these aerofoil sections. So what do we need to do? We need to accelerate. So we add power, right? So in our aeroplane, we've got a little lever, right? Does the same thing that the accelerator does in the car. And we call that the throttle. What do we call it?
Throttle.
Right. So if we need to increase speed, what are we going to do with the throttle? Are we going to push it forward or are we going to bring it back?
Forward.
Right, lovely. So we push the throttle forward, the aeroplane will accelerate. Now, once we've got enough speed, right? What are we going to do? We have a little control in the cockpit. It looks like a steering wheel, isn't it?
Yes.
Who knows what that's called?
Steering wheel.
Sorry? Michelle's notes are very good.
Oh, I'm just looking.
It's called a yoke. It's called a yoke or it's called a stick. So in the Boeings, we have a yoke. In the Airbus, we have a stick. You know, the French pilots are very naughty, so they prefer a stick, right? All right, cool. So, okay, Leon, everybody else is sleeping. Okay, cool. So we're going to use the stick. No, not you, Lungi. You sleeping literally. Okay, cool. Figuratively. Okay, cool. So once you've got enough speed, you're now going to apply back pressure on the stick or the yoke. Just a little bit, a tiny bit. It's not like the movies where you pull it all the way back. Remember this, guys. So it's a tiny bit of back pressure. So when you apply that back pressure, let me show you what's going to happen. You see here on the trailing edge on the vertical stabilizer, it's going to move up.
And you bring it.
Can you see there? It's moved up, guys. So when it moves up, you have a new chord line from leading edge to trailing edge. Can you see that? And your angle of attack is now greater at the bottom. So where's the greater distance, at A or B?
B.
That's it, because at B, the airflow must go all the way and up there. At A, it separates from the wing there and it only needs to travel so far. So the dynamic pressure now needs to speed up below. Dynamic pressure increases, static will reduce. And now where will this whole surface, the whole end of the aeroplane go? Down to the lower static pressure to B, or will it go up?
Go up.
No, where's the lower static pressure? Where's the mistress, guys?
Oh, yeah.
Below. So it's going to go down. So the entire aircraft is going to move, the entire tail section is going to move down into the area of lower pressure. So this little piece on the horizontal stabilizer, it moved up, caused the static pressure to reduce below, and therefore the tail will move down. Now, the nose is at a high angle of attack, and the main wings, which have a greater surface area, are at a high angle of attack. Just like how you would hold a kite. Can you see that?
Yes.
So on the main wings, the airflow will speed up above because that's the greater distance. And the static pressure will reduce above the main wings, and the aeroplane will generate, and you'll generate more lift there. Does it make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
So that surface is actually what's causing the aeroplane's nose to either move up or down. And what does that? You know, your first night in there on your honeymoon, Leon, you can barely walk. So how are you going to get up to your room?
Gonna carry you up.
Yeah. You see, always give me these kinky answers. We need, right? What's the, we got that. Use a lift. Thank you. And what is the correct term, English term for a lift?
Elevator.
An elevator. So the surface, because it's causing you to move either up or down, we call it the elevator. So what did we do? We applied back pressure on the stick. The stick moved the elevator, and the elevator generated that motion, which we call pitch. Why? Because in a boat, what does the boat do on the water? It pitches. In cricket, what does the bowler do with the ball? He pitches it, that motion, right? When we want to pour something from a container, we call that container a pitcher. So that motion, the nose going up and down, is called pitch. So if you remember it like that, you will never forget. Remember a pitcher or the pitching of a boat. Then you'll know when the nose moves up and down, I'll tell you what is it doing, you'll tell me pitching. I'll tell you what caused the pitch, you're going to tell me the elevator. I'll tell you what moved the, I'll ask you what moved the elevator, you're going to tell me the stick. That's it. So the elevator generates pitch. Right, very good. Now, now you're climbing, you've applied power, you got enough airflow, you raise the nose pitched up, and you're climbing away. But now the pilots are checking out all this very pretty cabin crew there, and they didn't concentrate and see the mountain out there. So how are they going to avoid this mountain?
Turning.
By turning, very good. And how are you going to turn? Let's assume you're going to turn right. How would you turn right? You would move the, if that's what Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, you guys wouldn't be past 100 Rand. How are you going to move?
The stick, would you not use the stick?
That's it, you're going to use the stick. Lovely. Okay, cool. So you're going to move the stick to the right, okay? So you move the stick to the right, what happens to the aeroplane? It motion, it does that. Now, what is that motion called? What does a baby do on the bed before they even learn how to crawl?
They roll.
They roll. So what does the aeroplane do? The aeroplane rolls. It's done the same thing. And how has it rolled? You see here on the main wings, you also have these surfaces there, isn't it? So on the main wings, if you turn to the right, the left wing must move up. So you see this surface here? It's going to go down, right? When that surface went down, look at the chord line. It's now changed. Leading edge to trailing edge. Can you see that? Right. There's your new chord, your relative airflow. And what's happened to the angle of attack? It's become larger. So now your greater distance is above the wing. Can you see that? So dynamic pressure must increase above, static pressure reduces. Now your mistress is on top. So where's that wing going to move? Up. There we are. And on the right wing, what's going to happen on the right wing? This
Opposite.
surface is going to move up in the opposite direction.
Mm,
So there we go. There's your chord line there. There's your relative airflow below. Angle of attack is greater below. So dynamic pressure will increase there because
The static pressure will decrease.
reduce. That's it. So that wing is going to move down. Very good. All right. Awesome. All right. More you need to become a pilot. All right. So there we are. That wing is going to move down. So the stick again, we use the stick. And the stick moved the aileron. What is it called?
Aileron.
Ailerons. So it's very simple. Elevator is on the tail. Ailerons are on the main wings, which move in opposite directions. And the ailerons generated roll. Remember the baby on the bed.
Okay.
But now when this aeroplane rolled, okay, did it change its direction?
No.
No.
Not at all. So what do you need to do? You need to do something else. So at your feet, you've got two pedals, a left pedal and you've got a right pedal. So you want to turn right, which pedal would you press? The left one or the right one?
The right one.
The correct one. Okay. All right. That doesn't help. Okay, so it's the right one. You are quite correct, Maud. I'm just pulling your legs. Okay, so you're going to move the right one and that surface on the vertical stabilizer is going to move to the right. That's it. Can you see that? So now your chord line changes and now look what happens. Now you've got an angle of attack. Can you see that? Because now the distance is no longer the same on either side. It's greater at A. So dynamic pressure will increase at A, and what will happen to static pressure?
Go down.
Decrease.
That's it.
Will decrease.
And where's this whole tail going to go? To A or to B? Where's the lowest pressure?
Hey.
It's going to move to A. So if the tail moves to A, right, where's the nose going to go? To the right. Tail moves left, nose will move to the right. So that surface on the tail that moves is called the rudder. What is it called?
Rudder.
And the pedals are called the rudder pedals. What is it called?
Rudder
Rudder
pedal.
pedal.
That's it. So the rudder pedals moved the rudder, R-U-D-D-E-R, okay? And that motion of the nose moving is called yaw. What is it called?
Yo.
Yeah.
Yaw.
What
Okay.
yawn? Yaw.
Yo.
Take the N out.
On.
Yaw.
Yo.
Yaw. Yaw. Right.
Yo.
If you want to turn, you need to make a coordinated input. Aileron with the stick and rudder with the rudder pedal in the same direction simultaneously, not one at a time, simultaneously. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Right. So guys,
Okay.
this is what we call the primary effects of controls, which is what happens at first application of these controls. So that means that there's something else, isn't it? But
Sounds like
you guys have only bought the trial version. Okay. So when you pay for the full version, then we teach you the secondary and the further effects. That's for another lesson. So this, what I taught you is the primary effects of controls. This was a trial version. And when your partners, when you impress them further and they buy you the full version, then we'll teach you the balance. And for that other person that comes from King Price, we're going to arrange a parachute for you, all where to. That's it. Yeah. If they don't pay out my claims, I'm going to take the parachute.
Oh my God, is this really a fight? Okay.
I'm just pulling your leg, don't worry. All right.
Yeah.
So guys, what can you notice here? Can you see what is the principle of this? Can you see all the flight controls? They look the same. They're almost the same shape, just slightly different in size. Can you see that?
Mhm.
So they basically just aerofoil sections that are placed in different directions. Can you see that? And what is their purpose? What are they doing? All that they're doing is what? They are altering the
relative.
The pressure. They're altering the pressure differential. They're moving it in different directions. Can you see that?
Yes. Okay.
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 Lovely. All right. Any questions, people? No questions.
I think I missed it. You said the rudder pedal must move simultaneously with
The ailerons, because if you want to
with the
turn,
ailerons. Yes.
that's it. You're moving the stick in the same direction as the rudder.
Okay.
And if you want to review any of this, if you search African Skyline on YouTube, you might find the video. African Skyline on YouTube. I'm sure we'll have introductory flight or primary effects of controls. There is something there somewhere.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So guys, I hope
But we recorded this as well, right?
Sorry?
But we recorded this as well.
Yeah, if you recorded it, it's fine.
Yeah.
You'll have a copy as well.
Okay.
All right. So guys, there's one more thing. There's lots of additional extras on our website. So we don't really make money out of this, but because it's a memorable experience, it's the first time you're going to be doing a flight. It's so amazing. A lot of people want to get some token of remembrance. So we do offer quite a few extras. They're all listed on our website, africanskyline.co.za. At the top, you'll see a tab which says shop. You can click there, you can purchase it online, and you can send the order to Wasila tonight so she can update the flight list, right? For those in KZN, please be advised the video does take a while because we've got to get it here, then have it edited, then still send it up, and we don't make money out of this. So people take their time in doing this here. We charge a very low rate for this video, which doesn't even account for the amount of time taken to edit this video. It's turned into a movie style format. It's amazing what they do with it. So people do get upset because we always have delays, especially in KZN with the videos. But please be advised that that is a bit of a delay. But it is a really nice thing to have. And you can let us know this evening and we'll update the flight list. And please, in KZN, just remind the pilot as well, because he's highly knowledgeable. He's a really nice guy. You learn a lot from him. He's amazing to fly with. But just remind him to take the video if you have ordered it and paid for it. All right. What
is his name?
His name is Keith.
Okay.
All right. They might change the pilot, but in most cases, it will probably be Keith. All right. For guys in Johannesburg, you'll be flying with me. Now, let me just advise you how to get to this place in KZN. On your meeting invites, Wasila has sent a meeting invite to each and every one of you. There's a contact number there. When you get to the airport, please contact that person. They will advise you how to get there because KZN is a little bit difficult. There's very bad signage, which is not in our control. As you get into the airport, there's a boom gate. You drive through there, and there's a huge blue hangar that is called Focus Air. Please don't go there. They are our competitors. Well, not even because they can't provide half of what we do. But anyway, right after Focus Air, on the right-hand side, there's a face brick hangar. It's filled with cars at the bottom. It's called U-Rent. But you've got to go through the fence. There's a gate there. And at the top of that building is AAA for pilots. And if you're still lost, ask them, the guys at the boom gates. I don't know if they change staff every week, but a lot of them don't know who AAA is, but this flight school's been there for years. So they are contracted to us to provide some of the training in KZN. In Johannesburg, everyone has my number. The number is 081. If you want to take it down, 081 446 1848. So 081 446 1848. When you get to Rand Airport, please proceed to the Harvard Cafe and I will fetch you from the Harvard. All right. So I will probably be flying. So you need to WhatsApp me. Don't get a heart attack if you don't get a response, because the minute I land, I will then answer that and find you at the Harvard. All right. Cool. Got that, guys? All right. And yeah, I'm sure you guys are going to have a fantastic time tomorrow. And please be advised, so the first flight is at 8:30. I'm not sure who's booked at 8:30, But every flight is going to, everyone needs to please arrive there 30 minutes prior to their appointment.
30 minutes before.
Yes,
30,
please be advised that we
okay.
always have delays. I'm usually very, very punctual, but you know what, with air traffic control and a lot of traffic at the airport, it's not in our hands, especially weather, etc. So because of that, there's always delays. But yeah, it's well worth the wait, trust me.
Perfect.
All right. I hope you've all had lots of fun, and I will see you tomorrow.
Well, I'll
Thank
see you on
you.
Thursday.
Enjoy.
I'll be coming in on Thursday.
Are you going to see me on
Oh, no,
Thursday? All right. You
we
can be very
can't
excited
seem to.
until Thursday morning.
Abdul,
Oh,
Abdul?
Maud, you've ordered all those extras already, the T-shirt and the cap and all of that.
Yeah, it's for my birthday.
Okay, happy birthday in advance.
Is the packages sent to Virginia for us that did order?
No, it wouldn't have been sent already, hey?
Okay, that's fine.
All right. We normally wait
problem.
for the flight and they do everything and then send it up.
Okay, 100%.
All right. Michelle, what have you ordered?
The cap, the shirt, the video, the photograph,
Okay, the
the whole
cap,
package.
the cap and the shirt. What was the name on there?
Captain Kermack.
Captain
Kermack.
Kermack. Oh, but it was for February, hey?
Yeah, it was originally for the 5th of February.
Oh, okay.
Because
no,
of weather, we.
it wouldn't have been sent up yet. We'll set it up.
That's fine.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
100%.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, enjoy.
Everyone.
Have fun.
Thanks. See you tomorrow.
Abdul, just a
Yes.
moment before you. We only got the confirmation of the date, but not the time in terms of our schedule.
Vuyo and Lungi. Okay, just WhatsApp Wasila. She's just a little bit busy, but she'll send you on that confirmation. There will be a time. So just check properly. There will definitely will be a time, but if you don't have the time, you can just WhatsApp Wasila. She'll respond shortly.
Is that
Do
on
we
the
need to go
calendar
in?
invite, eh?
It's on the calendar invite. So everyone,
Okay, 100.
everyone's calendar invite, there's a time there.
100.
Are we expected to go early, like 5-10 minutes earlier in our time schedule?
30 minutes earlier.
30 minutes early. Ah,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, enjoy.
Thanks, Abdul.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Abdul. Thanks, everyone.
Pleasure. Bye.
Bye.